Hello, everyone. My name is Nick Reichhoff. I am the Director of School Operations for the Sun Prairie Area School District, and I'm here recording the screencast today regarding revisions to Policies and Procedures KLB, which is related to handling complaints about learning materials and curriculum materials. These revisions include the policy, the procedure, the form filed when someone wants to request reconsideration of learning materials, and some other documentation that I'll go through during the screencast. The situation report and other information will be found in board docs, but I'm going to take you through in the screencast the revisions made to different parts of these documents. I'm going to start with the policy itself, Policy KLB, just titled Handling Complaints About Learning Materials and the Curriculum. There are very minor changes to the policy here. One of the main reasons for this set of revisions is to explicitly include library materials into this policy. And so in the first paragraph, we have more explicitly named that library materials fall under KLB. And we've also made it clear in the second paragraph that any parent or caregiver can raise an objection to materials being used in the district. So it previously said resident or employee, as we do have many open enrolled students whose caregivers will not be residents. We wanted to more explicitly state that here. Moving to the procedure, KLB-R, which is the procedures for handling these complaints, there are more significant revisions being proposed here. First, in the first paragraph, we are just again reaffirming that parents and caregivers can make those requests, that library materials are explicitly included in this. And another main reason for making these set of revisions is to ensure that we are better prepared to handle multiple requests for reconsideration that may come in at one time. The policy previously did not specify specific procedures around multiple challenges to materials being submitted at the same time. And we do know that this is becoming more common across the nation. And so we want our policy to reflect how we would actually be able to handle those processes in the event that multiple challenges came through. So first of all, we would ask that if an individual is asking for reconsideration of multiple materials, they need to complete a separate request form for each of those items. In number two, just more clearly stating what will be provided to somebody when they raise a challenge. And number three, just a statement that was already here, that items remain in use and accessible while they are being challenged. However, a parent or caregiver who's initiating a reconsideration request could ask that their own children use different materials as the challenge proceeds. As with any other complaint policy, we ask that people raising a concern attempt to work out the issue with the people most directly involved. So the teachers or the principal at the school where they're having a concern. The informal process is outlined here, and we haven't made substantial changes to that informal process. The formal process is also already detailed in this procedure. The assistant superintendent for teaching, learning, and equity convenes a reconsideration committee once somebody has submitted a form to challenge a specific material. Those groups that convene as a part of the committee are already listed. Just some cleanup in language and titles in this section. We did add that a public librarian could participate as a part of the reconsideration committee if school library materials are being reconsidered. That is considered a best practice from the American Library Association. Again, so just some general cleanup here in this section. And then I'll draw your attention to paragraph C. This is the paragraph where we more explicitly name how we would process challenges that occur if multiple come in at the same time. So this new paragraph states, if multiple requests for reconsideration are submitted by a single person or by multiple people at the same time, the committee will complete their review of one challenged resource at a time in the order the requests were received. Only one reconsideration committee will operate at any given time. The work of the committee will occur during the school year, so the committee will recess during breaks, including summer. This brings us in line with many other district policies that we reviewed as a part of this revision process, and just spells out what people can expect in the event that multiple challenges are submitted at the same time. Paragraph D just specifies that the reconsideration committee operates on 30-day cycles, and that's 30 school days. Again, because of the staff who are involved in a reconsideration committee, we want to make sure that we can run these, and we can't run them during the summer if we don't have staff actually working to sit on them. So we specified here that the reconsideration committee will work on 30 school day cycles to review challenged materials and issue their decisions. We also wanted to be clear around what the reconsideration committee will review as a part of the process. And that information is noted here in paragraph D and then in subparagraph 1. They will review the request for reconsideration form submitted by the person challenging the material. They will review a response from the staff member who selected the material. They will review any public comments that have been received for that material. They will review the material itself, and then they will consider several things such as appropriateness, accuracy, objectivity, the context the material is being used in, the instructional value of the material. They'll also review our district's mission, vision, and values, our equity framework, the material selection policies, and other policies that might inform the selection of materials, such as policy INB on controversial issues and sensitive topics. The committee can also consider anything else it deems necessary, and then makes a decision. And the committee can retain the material in its current use, can remove the material from use, or can modify the use of the material. So the decisions of the committee are pretty wide open. In subparagraph 3, we just wanted to note this was something that was not in our policy, but was in other districts' policies that we reviewed, that the chair of the committee, as the assistant superintendent for teaching, learning, and equity, runs the meetings and publishes the report, but the identities of the other committee members may be omitted to protect objectivity in the process. We do know that these processes have become very tense and heated in other school districts. And like other school districts, we want these committees to be able to operate without any fear of being singled out or retaliation for whatever decision that the committee comes to in the end. And that the voting process to determine whether to retain, remove, or modify the material would be a secret ballot vote. Other information here regarding the appeal process to the school board is unchanged. And then the last thing that we added, which is an important piece, is how long the decision of the reconsideration committee or the school board, if the decision is appealed, will stand. And based on other policies, we determined that a 3-year time span is appropriate. During that time, any modifications made to use of the material will remain in effect. And in addition, no additional requests for reconsideration can come in during that time period. We want to avoid a situation where something is removed from use, and then a year later, it's back in a classroom. So we think a 3-year span is appropriate. We also want to avoid a situation in which a material is judged to be appropriate and retained, and then somebody 2 weeks later files another reconsideration request. We would not want to spend the time and energy and resources to pull together another committee and reconsider the same resource that was just reviewed 2 weeks prior. So that paragraph F just specifies that in policy here. So that's the procedure, KLB-R. Some minor revisions were made to KLB-F, which is the actual form someone would use to ask about the further reconsideration of materials. Because that informal process is a really important piece, we did see some forms actually asked about that informal process. We added that as the new question number 1 on the form. Otherwise, no other substantial changes to the form. We did also create exhibit KLBE, the list of reconsidered materials, the purpose being that we need somewhere to log the decisions of any reconsideration committee so that they don't get lost. And this exhibit will now live in board docs and log those decisions so that if there ever is a question about what may be removed from use or modified in use or retained by a reconsideration committee, that can be logged here on KLBE. And then the last piece is a set of materials that have been in use for quite some time in practice. We have always had a reconsideration information packet that includes information about libraries, the purpose of libraries, and the philosophy around censorship and library use. That's now also being linked directly to this policy so that it's more accessible, and somebody that is considering filing a reconsideration request or the committee itself can easily find the information put together by our library media specialists. So again, in practice, this packet here has always been in use, but we are just formalizing that by linking it directly to the policy in board docs. So I'm happy to answer any other questions about these revisions. Otherwise, I am proposing that the policy, the procedure, the form, the new exhibit, and the library media packet be approved at the upcoming board meeting. Please reach out with any questions. Thank you.